Jane Andrews made Alice feel something. Nathan met him at one of her sorority's fancy little parties that she always convinced him to attend. He didn't remember which org she was in. All the Greek symbols and letters swirled in his mind like toilet water, flushed away because she was better than their artificial shallowness. Alice was devoted only to networking. She called it strategic life planning. Rich people stuffed into a small room was the exact kind of tragedy that triggered his anxiety. Alice had learned their language, always stepping in when they threatened him with socializing. She translated their out of touch to his poverty.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sarah Edmonds, and I'm the editor-in-chief of For Page and Screen magazine. I'm here today with Danielle Ellis, author of For Alice and Maybe J. Andrews, that we had the pleasure of publishing in our ninth issue. Thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. I'm so excited to talk with you about this story. I'm not, it's probably not good of me to pick favorites, but like this is one of my favorite stories that we've ever published, and like
Thank
I
you.
I love it so much.
Thank you.
So I'm so excited to talk about it. Full spoiler for our listeners that I probably shouldn't say. You can tell which stories are my favorite by the ones that are last in the issue. I always put them last because I like them.
Really?
But
That's
um
cool.
yeah. So I'd love to start with just kind of a basic question. Could you tell me a little bit about what inspired this story?
I have no idea. I was just writing and I tend to just write from the seat of my pants. And I think I was coming from when people are just not aligned. Like you can love someone, but you're just not sexually aligned, or you have different expectations and things like that. That probably sounds crazy to people who haven't read the story. Like, what is she writing? Um, and I'm not really a romance author, but I liked Alice as a character. She came to me, but she came to me through Nathan's eyes. Is that his Nathan's eyes? I'm working on another. It's so weird to forget your own character's name.
Oh,
I'm
I
working
understand.
on through Nathan's eyes, and I really like her character. I like how they're just juxta that word. They're contrasted.
Yes.
So 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 it wasn't really anything specific that inspired it. It was just I was writing and this is what came out.
No, I love that. And sometimes it is, I definitely feel like it's the characters that come to us first. And I love your
Yes.
perspective where you said she came to you through Nathan's eyes. Side
Yes.
note, I'm working on a story and I named one character Tony, and then I realized my other character's name was Anthony. I'm like, I can't have them both. I completely forgot the one existed. I'm like, oh, so it happens.
Yes, it does. Absolutely.
Mhm, mhm. But I love that because by having her kind of appear through Nathan's eyes first, it really works well to set the tone of the story and show
Yeah.
us that she obviously exists outside of him, but this is where we are as the reader. This is what we're
Yeah.
looking at. Mhm. Yeah, I absolutely love that. In terms of the kind of romance elements. You said you don't write a lot of romance, or you don't
No.
consider yourself a romance writer. Did you have any particular challenges with kind of taking that approach for the story?
You know, I don't think I did. I guess because I don't usually write this kind of thing. So I guess it felt a bit awkward from the sexual aspects. But they were very light, and I was coming mostly from the character interiority. So coming from his mindset and how she's so much different from him and she brings him outside of himself. But he also, in a way, kind of reels her in, or
Mhm.
else she would explode, you know? She's so big, she'll explode. So, but when it comes to the romance between them two, yeah, I just wrote what I
Mhm.
say it's like a video in my head and I
Mhm.
write I write down the film that I'm seeing.
Mhm.
So I didn't struggle with the romance part of it. Um I don't think I struggle with much of anything. It just kind of flowed out. One of those nice, nice stories where you hit the flow state and it all just sort of works out.
I love when that happens. It happens
Yeah.
far too infrequently. Absolutely. So I'm curious, what do you normally go to when you're writing? What's kind of your niche that you work in?
I work in mostly, I would say, emotional realism or
Mhm,
psychological realism. Definitely lean more literary,
mhm,
and I veer speculative. I go speculative a lot, but it's mostly um my peers and not fans. I have no fans. My
Oh,
mom.
you have fans. I'm a fan, so you have at least
Thank you.
one.
My mom, she always says you just write sad stories. But that's when you get a lot of emotion, a lot of people feeling things and complex emotions. Very few things are I'm angry now, I'm sad. It's a mixture of things. You can hold grief and joy at the same time. Um, and that's usually what I try to write, the complexities of emotion.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, I do feel like that comes through in this story. I know this is kind of a shorter story, a little. I don't know if I don't want to say it's like lighthearted in that way, but it's a little lighter than what it sounds like you're describing, but you still do
Yeah.
get that emotional complexity in here, and I think it works really well to create that balance. It's not just
Yes.
campy, it has meaning, it has depth to
Yes.
it. Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know you kind of said you were writing by the seat of your pants. Are you usually just kind of a pantster, I think is the word, or what's your, I'd love to hear about your writing process in general.
I do tend to sit and write, and those usually end up being flash pieces. Even when I think it's going to be longer, if I just sit and write, it usually comes out to be flash because I have a very hard time knowing when a story ends or
Mhm.
should end.
Mhm.
So usually, when I get an idea, I'll either write beats for myself as a sort of mini outline or but I always, if it's going to be longer, I always definitely note what the end is going to be so I know where the characters are taking me. I don't do well with full structure outlines. It stifles my creativity. So I just get the characters and follow them to an end. And I'm still surprisingly, that's one thing I struggle with. Even I guess you asked about it earlier, what do I struggle with endings? Because I'm like, it's just hard to, I kind of tend to end too soon, I think, rather than too late. Because
Mhm.
I'd rather leave, want someone to want me to come back rather than can you leave already? You know?
Mhm. Mhm.
So I try to end it quick, but then it's like, well, that was a little too quick. Maybe I need to add a little bit more. Um, but I think this ending came very natural. It was,
Mhm.
the arc was finished, and so this one came easier than most. But usually, yeah, it's that final line you want to get, and I always don't get it.
Yeah, I understand. Sometimes it definitely is difficult. I had a story, this is a tangent. I
It's
apologize for being
okay.
off topic.
It's okay.
I had a story one time that, full disclosure, was fan fiction, so it's not something I was trying to take super seriously.
It's okay.
Um, but
I,
like,
I write fan fiction too.
yeah. No shame. There's no shame in fan fiction. I'm just like, I
No,
feel weird bringing it up in conversation.
but it's
Um,
fine.
yeah, yeah. I was reading this story and I got past like the cheesy, like smutty they get together part. And then like I had built up this whole thing about like social dynamics in the beginning of the story. And I'm like, well, it feels wrong to like leave that unfinished and not address it at the end. So I did, but I legitimately, it has the most unsatisfactory ending because I know the readers, I had a couple of readers comment they wanted it to end sooner after like the smutty parts, after just social dynamics. And then I'm sitting here like it should have gone so much further because the social dynamics were wrapped up for the couple, but not for the society. So I'm like, it was a mess. So
I
sometimes.
I think the interesting part about writing fan fiction is you do get to do what you want, but then your instincts come in to do what you should as for the story. And it
Mhm.
can create a weird sort of balance
Mhm.
or
Oh,
misbalance.
absolutely, absolutely. I'm actually like relatively new to fan fiction. I
Really?
say relatively in terms of like I had my middle school fan fiction era and then did not touch it at all, reading or writing really, until 2 years ago, and
Okay,
then
yeah.
wrote obsessively for the past 2 years. Like it's kind of not healthy. Um, Now I'm like trying to get back into actual writing. Not actual writing. I love fan
But
fiction. It is actual writing,
right,
but
yes. But
it's
original fiction, yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's funny because it's interesting because I do feel like having the original fiction background kind of first coming into this, I was
Yeah.
leaning on like the instincts of like this is what's good for the story and the arc
Yeah.
and characters and all of that. And now I'm kind of on the opposite end, being like, I was writing how many freaking words a day of fan fiction? Like, can I please write that much in my original fiction? Like trying to balance the two. I'm like, okay.
It's funny. I have smuggled. I think you can kind of see it in and for Alice and maybe Jay Andrews. I have smuggled like fan fiction tropes into my original fiction. And that's always fun because only you're like I wonder if someone who reads fan fiction if they will notice
Mhm.
that these things are here. But yeah, I say smuggle, but as long and but I like how at least for me in fan fiction, it's just original fiction with some scaffolding.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I love that way of thinking of it.
yeah,
Absolutely. And honestly, I think it's good to kind of smuggle the tropes in. I do feel like
yes,
I have mixed feelings on this in general, but I do feel like the publishing world is kind of leaning into fan fiction tropes for marketing purposes.
yes,
So
yeah.
being aware of that in your fiction can kind of like help you once you get to the later stages, I think, for
Yes.
sure. Mhm.
I think so, yeah.
Mhm.
I'm glad that's happening too because it was so, I hate to say so button up, but
Mhm.
there was this kind of a button up attitude about it. I'm glad that things are relaxing and
Mhm.
becoming more flexible. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no, I do agree with that. And especially when you think of like, I don't know, fan fiction has such great categorization and like
Yes.
organization. And it's like sometimes I think publishing needs that because I'm like, I
Yeah.
love speculative fiction as much as the next person, but I'm like, that could mean 10 million different things. I don't know what that
Literally, yeah.
means.
Yes. Yes. I only started like publishing because I've been writing for years in fiction and original fiction, but I didn't know how to get it out because I before I learned about lit mags, I only knew I thought like, oh, you have to write a whole book. So and then I was like, oh wait, no, I can write short stories. That's what I prefer anyway. And I remember coming across speculative fiction, the term, like, well, what does that mean? And I still don't know.
Yep, yep. That's like honestly my default term for how I describe my writing is speculative because I don't know I don't know what it is. And that seems backwards, but I'm like it's not realism. Like these are not
Right.
real places and like they have fantasy powers, but it's also not like a different time in a different world and whole magic systems. And so I'm just like, nah, it's just speculative. I don't know what it is.
This actually had a piece be published by Story Sanctum, and they genred it as literary horror. I was like,
Ooh.
well, I didn't think it was scary, but then I thought it was like, well, maybe horror isn't what I thought it was.
Mm.
Um, and but I thought of it as just speculative. I didn't think it had any horror elements. But I was like, well, that's interesting. Maybe maybe I can write towards that from now on.
Yeah, yeah, I love that category. I'm also just a horror fan in general, so I'm like,
Really?
that sounds amazing. But yeah, it is really weird when like other people genre your work. Like
Yes.
I have something coming out next year, and in my mind, I was kind of labeling it as speculative romance. and the publisher labeled it as paranormal romance. And in my mind, I'm like, that says ghosts. There are no ghosts in the story. Like the only fantasy element is like the one dude has visions, and then there's a raven that's not really there, but like it's not a ghost. So I don't know.
That's funny, yeah. I'm
Yeah.
glad that's the universe because I thought I was the only one. I was like, well, am I just weird? I didn't know this was hard.
No, no, you are not alone in that. It's an interesting experience. But yeah, anyway, sorry for the
That's,
off
that's okay.
topic ramble. Um, but I had a question. I have two questions. I'm gonna ask you the selfish one first, because I suck at writing flash fiction. I can't write flash fiction to save my life. So I'm curious if you have any tips or advice when it comes to writing flash fiction and shorter work.
Yes, I learned this because I either get stuck in one or the other. You start the story closer to the climax. That's the best way I can describe it. So, because you have to write the whole lead up, but if you just shorten that time, then you just have to take a couple walks to the end, and then you're there. So that's what I do. I usually start Flash. It's like either right before like the exciting incident happens right before the resolution. That's the best way I can say it. Just give yourself less time to have to. But it's also because it's really easy to want to fill in those details.
Mhm.
And it's I think you have to work on a lot of prose work to say a lot in just a sentence. You know what I mean? To say, I wish I had other work to to bring up because I could show what I mean, but to bring in a whole history, but like in one sentence. It's the best way I could say it, just compressing. That's not
Mhm.
helpful at all.
No, no, I do think that's helpful because I know I am unnecessarily verbose in my writing in general sometimes, but I feel like I'm always worried about how do I get someone to care about what's going on in a short enough period of time. So
Yeah.
I feel like just starting kind of closer to the climax, closer to the resolution, and almost trusting that the reader will care
Yes.
at that point is helpful and would be something
Yes.
I would need to keep in mind.
That is something I am very, very almost sometimes ruthless with the reader. I hate to say it like that, but I hope you trust and understand what I'm doing, and I just kind of leave them to it. Sometimes to my own detriment, because some works like, well, maybe help the reader along. But interestingly, I don't write with much of the reader experience in mind. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I just write purely what the characters are thinking, feeling from the characters. I'm in their headspace.
Mhm.
And so I'm writing what was happening. And I wonder, am I the only person who does this? Have you ever written for a character and you feel what they feel, but it's like,
Mhm.
am I the only one?
No, no, I've definitely I've had that. I feel like for me, and this is why I don't write in public often, I will make their facial expressions and
Yeah.
like react in the way that they're reacting to things as I'm writing it. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, oh, this is questionable. And then I have the thing I'm working on right now. I was talking to a friend and I was like, I'm trying to make this character like unlikable, but like not to the point where people hate her but like to the
Right.
point where they're like, she's annoying at first and then they sympathize with her and then they realize she's actually worse than they think she is. Um,
Oh, I
so
love that.
then they can maybe judge her a little more. And my friend was like, how do you do that? I'm like, well, I'm just making her how I think people see me. And so I'm like, I'm like, it's exposure therapy. I feel everything she feels. Like, I'm curious how people judge her. And like, I don't think I'm like her, but it's one of those things, the voice
No.
in the back of your head where I'm like, this is what I worry people think about me. And that's how I'm gonna make her.
interesting. Well, they say you write what you know, like they,
Yeah.
as advice, but I think you kind of pull from things. Like it's not a. Hopefully, you don't give yourself like that. It's not a
You know.
self-reflection, but you pull from that little personality details. You pull
Mhm. Mhm.
from what you know and what you experience, and that's interesting.
Yeah, it's weird. It's my first time writing a character like this in that regard, in the regard of the genre, all of those things. So I'm like, I'm just winging it at this point. It is
Yeah,
what it is. But that is definitely a situation where I'm like very much, oh, what would I feel in this situation? And like focusing on that as I'm writing.
yeah.
Mhm. Mhm. Definitely. Yeah, my follow-up question, or the one I
Yeah.
was thinking of that was not the selfish question, um, was just kind of, I'd love to know about how you got started in writing. What kind of led you on this path?
I have always been creative, and so I do really well in any my I guess because my degree is in graphic design, so I've always veered art first, but graphic design is storytelling and art. And but I've always written, and I think as I got older and decided to take it more seriously, I write like a designer, if that makes the most sense. Um, so I include details, hopefully that makes it more realistic, or or I write as I visualize it. But I mostly I think because I was going through a hard time in life, and like a lot of people do, you start writing to cope. And started with fan fiction, and I've written over a million words, probably at this point in my life, to over a million and a half words. But a million of them have been published because I've been writing for about 15 years. And that's why I said I don't think I ever really wrote fan fiction in the way people are thinking. I wrote it in original fiction, my own ideas. Even the characters are probably just horribly out of character because they're not anyone else's characters, they're just mine with
Mhm.
someone else's name. And and I think and then I started probably about I've always written original fiction, but I started taking it seriously because I've done all this practicing with all sorts of different things. You start applying it in your own imagination and stuff. I always feel weird saying I started with fan fiction because I don't want people to think, oh, well, you're just pulling these ideas from someone else. It's like,
Mhm.
no, no,
Mhm.
came from my own mind. It's all original. Um, it was just you know, like in art, a lot of schools will start with copying someone else's
Mhm. Mhm.
work. And that happens in a lot. Music, you learn by playing other pieces that
Mhm.
everyone else and no one else cares. But you get to, for some reason, writing, and that's a problem. Um, that I have gone on a tangent. That has nothing to do.
That's okay. I recently this past semester taught a fan fiction writing workshop. So like I'm here for these
Really,
conversations. I'm so here for
that's
it.
awesome. That's awesome. I love that. But that's what really got me into writing. And I've actually, because I have so many works that are not finished. Um, and I meant to finish them, but as I veer further into original fiction, I've actually maybe I'll come back to fan fiction more. I have not gone back though right now, because I'm too busy in my own work now, finishing my own stories. I'm so glad that I am able to finish um short stories. I didn't think I would. I was like, I don't know if I'll be able to finish, but I'm finishing them all the time. I don't know why I got to fan fiction. It's just like 130 WIPs. Oh, works in progress. Like, why did I do that?
Mhm. No, I definitely understand because I feel like with fan fiction, there's so much immediate kind of like payoff for it. Like if you're
Yeah.
publishing chapter by chapter, people are reacting and you get that kind of
Yes.
feedback. I know I kind of fell into the trap of I had my first five stories I wrote completely before I started updating and publishing any of
Okay,
them.
yeah.
And then I was doing this challenge where it was like a new theme every week for the month of October for like Halloween themed fics. And my dumbass was like, I'm going to write one for every single week, and most of them are going to be chaptered fics and not one shots. And I got to the last one and I could not finish it in the time. It was like a because I'll just fully out myself here. I write for the Bridgerton fandom. It's like exclusively
Okay.
what I write for. Like nothing else. I've done other things in the past, but at the moment, my AO3 count is 750,000 words of Bridgerton fan fiction, and that is it.
Love that.
So,
Look, mine is Avengers, like
oh,
purely.
nice, nice. Oh my gosh, I love that. Um, but yeah, and I got to this fic that was like a Dracula Bridgerton crossover for the vampire themed week, and I couldn't do it. I'm like, I want to post this, but the week's almost over, so I had to start posting and writing at the same time. I did enough
Yeah.
of a buffer that it was never an issue, but then like once I started that, I let myself fall into the habit of that to where I was literally like falling asleep writing chapters just so I could post them all the time. And like this is not healthy. And it was fine, but then it got to the last two fics I wrote took really long, and like one had a
Yeah.
really long gap in between because it's a lot to balance. Like the immediate
Yeah.
payoff is nice, but it's a lot to balance kind of like
It is.
finishing it
Yeah.
like original writing. Where I feel like with original fiction, yes, you kind of have to motivate yourself in a way
Yeah.
that is different than fan fiction, but at the same time you don't have the pressure of there are people waiting for this and
That's true.
commenting. That makes it a little different when it comes to finishing things.
That is very true. I hadn't thought about that. You know what? I don't know if I miss or am grateful for it being gone, the feedback. Because
Yeah.
there's no kudos or anything. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? In real life, you write and you send it off and hopefully they take it, and usually they don't. So,
Mhm, mhm,
um, and sometimes you'll get a personalized note back. Sometimes, usually you don't. And so,
mhm,
I don't know if that helps or hinders. I think it's just different. But
mhm,
yeah, well, because I always got. I think that's another weird thing. I had like three thoughts collide with each other there. But another interesting thing I found on AO3, there was very little, if not none, criticism. Like there's
mhm,
no
mhm.
bad reviews or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's not as harsh. So you're getting a lot of positive reinforcement.
Mhm,
And for some reason that still helped.
mhm,
Because a lot
mhm,
of people say you need constructive criticism. I think that's true. But I think the positive reinforcement just constant and you're writing and you keep exercising those muscles. I think that worked
mhm.
for the most part. This is so far off from the question. I hate-
All good.
I hope I answered the question at some point during.
Yeah, yeah, no, all good. The beauty of free-form casual interview style. We're just running with it. Um, yeah, no, absolutely. I agree with that. I feel like the only real negative comments or like criticisms I ever had from AO3 were just bookmarks when I think people didn't realize their bookmarks weren't private. Like
Yeah.
nothing terrible. The most
Yeah.
really was just that fic I was talking about. People were like, "Oh, I skimmed to the second half." And I'm like, that didn't feel great, but that's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's interesting because, like you said, it is such a big difference between
Yeah.
kind of the positive reinforcement of fan fiction and then
Yeah.
constant rejection of original fiction once you actually try publishing there.
Yeah.
I'm curious to tie this back into a question about writing. How do you personally handle the rejection? Like, how do you kind of keep up that motivation in spite of it?
I have been blessed and so lucky. I get a lot of rejections, hundreds of them. But
We all do.
I have a system where I get this sounds more narrow than what it actually is. I send five publications. If I get a personal rejection, I revise and then to send to five more. I have not followed that as closely because I sent to more than 10 publications.
Mhm.
But once I get to 10, I retire the piece. So, and that just if the piece goes on my website,
Mhm.
because then, the rights and all that, most people
Yeah.
don't want
Mhm.
previously published pieces. So far, I think the pieces that I wanted published have not gotten more than 13 rejections because I might get more than the 10. I just stop sending it
Mhm.
out once it gets 10. And that helps because it's like at least I can see even some pieces have never gotten a rejection.
Mhm.
And so that helps seeing I'm a very, very big numbers person. So instead of comparing, well, I have 21 yeses compared to 300 no's, it shows, well, this one piece got 13 no's and a yes. So its personal
Mhm.
rate is like, I don't know, like 20% or something. You know what I mean? And I think that helps. I also weirdly um, the rejections you'll get that kind of try to, how do I phrase it? They try to like soften the blow. I'd
Yeah,
rather,
yeah.
I would rather you just say, hi, lovely work, no thanks, bye.
Mm, mm. Fair enough.
I know,
Mhm.
I know what they mean though. I know what they're trying to
Mhm.
do, but it almost feels like, oh, you
Mhm.
baby writer. That's what it
Mhm.
feels like to someone like me.
Yeah.
But so I also because I came from graphic design and
Mhm.
working in the field for over 10 years now, getting constant feedback or told to change something or told we don't like this or something gets
Mhm.
rejected. I've just done it my whole career. I've done it in college. The teacher tells you to change the whole thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Your whole approach was wrong. Start again.
Yep. Yep. I've been there.
So get used to it. It doesn't hurt. A- After a while, it's like, yeah, I just need to change it or do
Mhm.
something different, or this isn't working. I'll retire it. I have one piece though that I've purposely defied because I'm so curious. Because I usually the advice is to keep trying,
Mhm.
and I'm testing this. I have a control piece
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
I don't think it's ever going to get picked up. It's a good piece, but I don't think it's handled people way people want it to handle. Like the
Mhm.
reader
Mhm.
experience thing I said, it's
Yeah.
not written for a feel good, so and readers don't.
Mhm.
So it's gotten I think 18 rejections now, but I keep sending it out because I want to see how long it'll take it to get accepted. Is it
Mhm.
worth it? 'Cause I'm
Mhm.
very big on stats and things like that. And I also, because the advice is to try the same market until you make it.
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm very much well, if I sent three works and they were my best works at the time, and it just isn't a style fit, should I keep submitting? Or
Yeah, that's fair.
should I just let it? So I
Mhm.
have a controlled market sending
Mhm.
work to that I know they're not going to accept because it's not their style. They don't want it. They're nice
Mhm.
people. They just
Yeah.
don't want what I write, and that's fine. But I have that's another tangent, but it is just so you know a little bit more about my process. Um, yeah, so I guess that's another thing I do with rejection. I gamify it or I
Mhm.
make it
Mhm.
into stats or try to learn something else from it.
Mhm. Mhm. I love that approach. It kind of makes it more, I don't want to say more detached, but I feel like people obsess over the rejections every
Yeah,
now and then,
yeah,
and it kind of
they
helps
do.
to block that, prevent that a little bit.
It
Mhm.
does,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah.
Nice.
'Cause, they say it's not personal, but if you really make it not personal, the piece is personal,
Yeah.
but the reaction to it isn't.
Mhm, mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a great way of looking at it. Um, Now, when you're kind of picking which places that you submit to, since you're only submitting to kind of small groups of places at the time, do you have
Yeah.
a process for that? Are there specific like check marks that you need to take to say, I want to submit to this person, this publisher, this group?
You know, when I first started, I didn't even realize. tears. I just knew there's markets out here and I'm gonna send it. And I knew better than to just shotgun it.
Mhm.
And I knew to read the work and see if my work is a fit. What I didn't know until what I learned later is how to read for a fit. Because I'm like, oh, okay, these are words on a screen. Excellent.
Yep.
My work fits. And I've started to learn how to read style. And some markets are very prose forward. I'm not a prose forward writer.
Mhm.
Some places are very plot forward, and I'm not plot forward. I'm very character driven,
Mhm.
and everything services the characters. I
Mhm.
want to feel like they live in this world, be it a speculative fic or something in realism. And so I, my only thing is um, when I finish a story, polish it. I just at that moment when I feel it's ready, go on chill subs and look for whatever's open now. Um, I we as we all want to be paid. I do pay first unless I know I don't mind not
Mhm.
paid, but I try. And I do that and then check for word count and
Mhm.
stuff. And then I just read a couple pieces to see if it fits and I send it in. There's no like I don't try the big max first. I have done that on accident because I didn't know any better. And
Mhm.
I like that aspect, so I've not really tried to educate myself either. I'm just by being in a lit space, I try to I've learned who the big players are. And but other than that, I don't try to learn because I think once you put those places in your head as a goal,
Mhm.
you kind of well, one, I don't like tearing things like that.
Mhm.
The small one person mag is just as important to me as the New Yorker.
Mhm.
Um, to just get different visibilities, but
Mhm.
there might be even more passion for the one person working hard compared to a whole team who might read like the first half of the story and they have to just there's too much to work. You need to
Mhm.
grab their attention immediately.
Yeah.
So I don't like putting things on a hierarchy. I also I don't want to stop myself or become obsessive with chasing names and stuff. Because I think you just, once you start doing that, you might start changing your writing style to
Mhm.
even fit
Mhm.
things. And I
Yeah.
like what I write, and I, I don't want to change my voice to fit. I don't, I
Mhm.
know some people might change per market, and I think that's really cool. Like, you know how some people can mimic other people's artwork.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think
Mhm.
that's a genuine skill and it's amazing, but
Mhm.
I just have my own paint strokes. And so um yeah, I just kind of check what's open at that moment and I
Mhm.
send it. And if it gets a bunch of rejections, if I haven't hit my 10 rejection mark, then I'll send it to unpaid
Mhm.
or that you gotta try first, right?
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, no, I definitely understand that. When I first started out, I was very much I sent everything everywhere. Like just 'cause I'm like, why not? It's cool, whatever. Um, and I do kind of now look for places that will publish either print copies or
Yeah.
will pay.
Yeah.
And I always feel a little guilty doing that because we don't really do either. And I feel bad about that. We're hoping to one day, maybe. But
That's the thing. I understand why, because it's expensive. So
yeah, yeah.
that's why I want to support the markets that can't, because it's like, well, you need work, and in order to sell something, you have to have something to sell. So I don't mind doing that. Um, I also have fallen in love with print copies,
Mhm,
and I
mhm.
consider that a form of compensation because
Yeah.
it's cool to get your own work. I have like my work on the bookshelf, and it's just like amongst the other books. My work is here too. That's a cool feeling.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm,
but yeah, I really like contributor copies. I love it. I
mhm,
love seeing the
mhm,
design of it too, because I'm perhaps a bit too critical sometimes. But when they when it's really good, it's really nice.
mhm.
Yeah.
Now, do you ever, speaking of design, when you go and you put your work onto your own website, do you ever design art for that work?
I have not designed art for work. Well, it's one market I've published with twice. They asked for a cover art, and I designed both of them. The first one was very bad. The second one, I remembered my instincts. But I've done it for that. I run a small mag myself,
Mhm,
um, and I do the artwork for that. But I have not done. I guess I haven't needed to, because like I haven't published online. If I
mhm.
did do self-publishing, I would do the whole thing myself. Um, But yeah, I haven't, I've never made art for my own work. That's interesting. I never considered doing it.
Might be something to explore.
That would be nice, yeah.
Mhm, mhm,
Especially because I put so much effort for the writers I publish. I
mhm,
put a lot of effort for it. I just never did it for myself.
mhm, mhm. I would love to hear more about the magazine that you run. That's awesome.
It's an online publication called Interrobang Lit. There was another publication that has now defunct that's called Interrobang, and I wish I hadn't named it Interrobang Lit because it gets mixed together all the time. But I do
Mhm,
love it. Interrobang Lit, and it's online right now. The thing I really focused on was because I've read for publication for a college.
mhm,
Um, Also read for the Color Lens and Still Here magazine. And it wasn't from those bags. I want to make that very clear. Well, I guess a little bit. It's from fellow readers. I just noticed
mhm,
that sometimes, or so, and depending on the publication, a lot of times, work is not judged on its merits. It's judged on
mhm, mhm.
who knows what. Maybe the editor felt cranky that morning and now nobody gets in today.
Mhm,
So,
mhm,
so my publication is rubric based, and it's
mhm,
evaluating the elements of the 8 different craft elements. So like plot and structure and things like that. So it's another what um what actually inspired this was an incident. A fellow reader read a piece, and we both assigned the same piece. I thought it was wonderful. They did too. They said the writing was impeccable, but they had read too much of the same genre to
mhm,
care,
mhm, mhm,
and it got
mhm.
rejected. Like, it's your personal reading experience
Yeah,
to do
yeah.
with this person's work that you thought was impeccable, and it got rejected. And so I said,
Mhm,
well, I want to do something where that can't happen. I can't get rid of
mhm.
all bias and all
Yeah.
subjectivity, but I want to make sure there's an extra step of
Mhm,
rating.
mhm,
And if you have to qualify what you thought was wrong with the piece, it
mhm,
makes you, because I have read pieces that I personally would not
mhm.
entertain on my own,
Yeah.
but but it's good writing. And maybe I would have even rejected it in another market. But I'm like, oh wait, no, actually, my problem with this is completely personal. There's nothing wrong with the piece. It's
Mhm,
excellently written. Um, and that's what I wanted. I want
mhm,
to make sure I judge work based on its own merits. And
mhm,
so I have that, I think it's a 9 point rubric. And you scored from poor to excellent.
mhm,
And it has really, because I tested it out first, it has been great to use that rubric and to see work that probably doesn't get a lot of that wouldn't really, because it's like I said before, markets that are prose forward or
mhm,
plot forward and they create a house style. I don't have a house
mhm,
style. I
mhm.
just have hopefully good work.
Yeah.
And I love that. We also do character prompts. So every 2 months there's a new prompt. And it's really, really cool to see how so many people take the same prompt and go
Mhm,
the same character even and go different ways with it. And that's what I really love too, is just seeing creativity on display. I love that so much. So it's a passion project as these things always start off to be. But it's something I'm grateful to do.
Mhm. That's amazing. I love that process because I absolutely our votes here kind of subjective. Like I will
They
fully
usually are,
fully own
yeah.
that. Yeah, yeah. And we always try to like we don't take like biographical, we don't take experience
Mhm.
into consideration. We don't do anything like that. But
Right.
absolutely, we've had pieces where we're both like, it's well written, but like we didn't like it, which is maybe not the best. So like I like that approach of having the rubric. It sounds very involved, but like very
Yeah.
honest in that way as
Yeah.
well. Hmm.
But and I do it too because and with from my own I'm very very critical. I go through the whole thing. But
Hmm.
then at the color lens I'm at times a little bit harsher with the score because there's a
Hmm.
method there too. But you almost have to be because
Hmm.
you get a lot of work and you can only publish so much. And within the first page, this isn't going to make it. It's unfortunate. Or I even like the piece, but I know it doesn't fit here
Hmm.
because there's a certain style here or
Hmm.
there's whatever. Or the audience that has been built is not going to respond well to the piece.
Hmm.
So that's another nice thing about starting something new because I just started with Interrobang Lit in September of last year. So the audience is brand new, is
Hmm.
building, and I can build it however I want. So I still have room for flexibility and without alienating. Like you
Hmm.
publish something that's out there, no one's like, well, I didn't like that.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, definitely. When it comes to kind of, I have two questions. One, I think you kind of answered when you were talking, but I just want to make sure. And the other is related. But I might be wrong in asking, you mentioned you use the rubric on your own writing. Is that right?
I do
Yeah.
sometimes. I not all the time,
Yeah.
but sometimes if especially if I'm getting a lot of if it's getting close but not landing,
Mhm.
um I'll use the rubric. It's just so hard to judge my own work. I
Mhm.
tend to be too critical because I don't want to say, well,
Mhm.
I am excellent on every single.
Yeah, yeah, I get that.
So it's helpful though to if I can see my own work honestly, then I'm even better at seeing everyone else's work honestly. But it's very hard to judge your own work
Mhm.
critically like that because
Mhm.
for both ways, I might think this line was very good, and I think this other line I should have chose a different word, and everyone else is like, no one cares what word you choose.
Mhm. Mhm. I get
They would
that.
never know the difference. So, um, I have though for especially I have like examples if I'm using examples
Mhm.
to show on the website. I'll use my own work because I wouldn't do that to anyone else's.
Mhm.
But I did it because we offer different services. So I use my own work to show how this
Mhm.
piece would be used in each service, and
Mhm.
that was a interesting experience because it was a piece that retired. I knew it was going to retire quickly. I only sent it to like a handful of publications,
Mhm.
and but it was like going through why it was retired,
Yeah.
why it didn't make it. I suspected why because it's just very too small, too quiet. But
Mhm.
going through it and seeing, yeah, yeah, that's exactly what the problem is.
Mhm.
That was interesting. But yeah.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, and that kind of ties into my second question there. Um, has your experience as a reader and now as someone running a literary magazine, has that changed the way you write at all?
It has to a certain point.
Mhm.
Um, I think because it is me still,
Mhm. Mhm.
and I came up with the rubric. So I have no choice but to come from a personal place
Mhm.
of writing of judging the elements that I hope are well-rounded, but I'm still coming from my own perspective. So I think I came with an idea of what I find important in my own work. I still did research and stuff, but definitely some of the pillars and some of the things I judge. I do just use my own framework first. And so, but when it comes to reading, it has, it has made me very critical in the sense of, well, not critical, analytical when I'm reading things. And the way I read, and I've noticed a change in when I'm reading for others. Because I can just tell by the comments everyone else is making. I'm balancing all these elements and reading for them and judging them individually, and everyone else is just responding to the overall experience. And I'm like, oh yeah, yeah. By the way, that did not. Yeah, I didn't like the whole story, or I love the whole story, but I got caught up in the little pieces. And interestingly, when I said I actually judge pretty harshly at the color lens now, it's harder for me to be interested in a story um, very quickly. I also at Interrobang Lit, there's it's a 3,000 word limit. But then you get words that are 9,000 words. And I'm like,
Yeah.
get to the point, please. Or, or or I start to notice I'm very sensitive to exposition as well, exposition dumps. And I try to be very, very kind because I know I can be so critical when it comes to that type of thing. Again, I'm rambling. You asked.
That's okay. That's
You
okay.
asked. I hope I answered the question. Yes, it has changed the way I judge other works. But not so much my own writing.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Um, Now, in terms of kind of that feedback, giving advice, getting advice, do, outside of the literary magazine scene, do you share your work with people? Do you have like a writing group that you work with, or are you more solitary in your approach to that?
I am very solitary. I do have a better reader now, and I have some friends that will send work to over the years.
Mhm,
But I I know it's like if I send something every time I'm finished with the
mhm.
work, either will bombard you at the same time, or you won't hear from me for months maybe. So
Mhm,
I'm and people when I'm ready to go through my writing spurt, someone else might have a million things on their plate. So I tend to write um, by myself unless I'm really curious about a piece or think something's not working.
mhm,
But yeah, I tend to just write, um, refine and polish
mhm,
and send just all based on my own thoughts. And it would be nice to do, I have done a writing group years ago. Unfortunately, I didn't find it that helpful.
mhm, mhm,
Um, and I'm not quite sure why. I think everyone was so different.
mhm,
All the
mhm,
work was so different that I was like, this isn't really something that's helpful for me right now. It was
mhm,
also I hadn't done original fiction. Well, I had done original fiction. I hadn't been published yet.
mhm,
Um, but I still wasn't at the point where I need you to tell me how to write a sentence. And it
mhm.
was kind of at that beginner stage to catch for
Ah,
everybody, but it
gotcha.
was a bit
Mhm,
too it wasn't challenged, I should say.
mhm, mhm, mhm.
So I didn't find it helpful and I kind of went back into my turtle shell and arted away.
Mhm. No, that makes sense. I definitely, I've been in a couple of writing groups and that some that are really great and some
Mhm.
that also kind of are not. And it just depends on the dynamic of the people and
Yeah,
where, what everyone is focusing on, that kind of
yeah,
thing. Um,
absolutely, yeah.
mhm,
I
mhm,
think even genre, because
mhm,
if you got a lot of people who are into fantasy, or even just too much diversity with the
mhm,
genre between writers, it could be everyone's coming with a different perspective of what they find important.
mhm,
And so, yeah, I've not found them very. It might also be too, because I did come from fan fiction, as we said, and there was always positive reinforcement.
mhm,
That might also be my tainting my idea of what of what a writing group should be. I'm not
mhm,
sure. Um, yeah, I haven't found anything too. enough to convince me to stop being solitary. I should say it like
Mhm.
that.
Mhm. Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense to me. I feel like, especially with genre, because I've encountered this less in writing groups and more in the classroom when I'm teaching creative writing, where students will kind of write very different genres. And then if one person has a critique, the author will be like, oh, well, that's common in this genre. And it becomes kind of a negotiating point where it's like, is it common and working well and the other person just doesn't know the genre? Or is it common but still not working well and you're using that as an excuse? Because
Yeah,
it can be both sometimes,
it
and
could
it's
be
hard.
both. Absolutely. That's one thing too about reading different works, so many different works.
Mhm,
Because what I like I notice with nonfiction, I don't read a lot of nonfiction. I don't judge a lot of nonfiction, but I've had to
mhm,
at certain points. But the approach is completely different from fiction. And
mhm,
I every time it catches me off guard. So um is it's like I do need to know the background of
mhm,
to judge it properly because it's not a character, it's you and you're writing
mhm,
about your experience or something similar. So yeah,
mhm.
I think if it's not, it's very hard to align those kind of things, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned character just then, which reminded me of a question that I thought of and then forgot to ask ages ago. So I'm circling back a little bit.
Yeah,
But you mentioned that for Interrobang Lit, you sometimes do character prompts. I've never seen
yes.
a character prompt, and I'm curious about what sparked that idea. Because it sounds really cool. Because I don't like prompts in general, but a character
Really.
prompt sounds new and neat.
That's one of the reasons why I did it because it was new and I have never seen it. So the character prompt varies, and that's all we do is character prompts. It varies greatly sometimes. The first one I did was the prompt was Vanessa is a nervous woman with yellow eyes. And because I've never seen character prompts, I didn't know how to write them. So I'm still learning. I'm trying different approaches. The last one we did was just very general, a lost child. And
Mhm.
now I'm gonna go back to the more specific ones, but not so specific. Um, I think the next one is I don't remember. I know one of them is it's like John is a nymphomaniac or something because I thought that was
Yeah.
that was a fun fun way to go. Um, but yeah, I wanted something where I kind of didn't want. I knew I didn't want like someone to send a piece from like in the back drawer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it helps because when you get with like a theme or something like
Mhm.
ocean or something, is very easy to get a wide range of work
Mhm.
from a wide range of skill levels. But character prompt, you have to think a little. I shouldn't say it like that, but it challenges you.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
It challenges you in a different way, um,
Mhm.
where you have to just approach the story differently, I think, than some people would. And that I think is fun. I've written when it first started, I didn't know how many submissions I would get.
Mhm.
So I've written for the characters in case I had to like, oh, hey guys, we got no submissions, but to keep the spirit alive,
Mhm. Mhm.
here's here's my submission for it. Um, Thankfully, I've never had to
Right.
publish my own work. Um, but it was fun writing from, especially because I came up with the prompt, right? So,
Yeah.
of course, I had an idea for it.
Mhm.
But interestingly, the first one, Vanessa's a nervous woman with
Yeah.
yellow eyes. I just knew it would be taken speculatively, but it
Mhm.
wasn't. A lot of
Okay. Okay.
people, the piece that got published was the author wrote a woman with like a kidney or
Mhm.
liver disease,
Yeah.
so her
Yeah.
eye whites were yellow. I never thought of that. I took it in a in a
Mhm.
magical way, and someone else just took it as like a lady with just yellow irises, and
Mhm.
that's just what her eye color was. And I
Mhm.
thought that was really cool because it was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, this is not speculative at all.
Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
awesome.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's just been so great to see so many different approaches. The last one we did, a lost child. That was actually more typical than I thought
Mm-hmm.
people would do, but it was still great to see
Yeah.
so many approaches. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. I'll have to keep an eye out for a prompt and try it because I haven't
Yeah.
actually written a new short story in ages. So I'm like, it'll be a good opportunity.
Do you write mostly like long form?
Unfortunately. Yeah, yeah. I started out with like script writing and playwriting and then
Oh,
in
nice.
and that kind of went I randomly decided to write like a fantasy trilogy before going to grad school, and that's technically still in the works, but I got two out of the three done. Um, um, and then in grad school, I was writing a lot of short stories,
Yeah.
got out and have not exclusively, but like almost exclusively started writing novel length
Oh,
manuscripts.
nice.
Yeah, which are not as easily published,
No.
but I enjoy reading them or writing
Yeah.
them. So, oh well.
Nothing wrong with that. I'm mostly exclusively short. Yeah, I don't know why I said mostly. I am exclusively a short story writer. And I don't plan to write a novel, but maybe one day.
Would you ever put your work into a collection or like an anthology sometime?
I considered it, but I I didn't come from like any I come from the art world
Yeah.
more than lit. So I'm like, I don't know. Do I need a theme? Do I just throw everything together in a book? I don't
Mhm.
know how to approach it. So I haven't thought about it
Mhm.
seriously yet. I might. I have an idea about relationships and approaching several long short stories into a collection, but we'll see if I actually do that one day.
One day, maybe. I'll keep an eye out. But yeah, yeah, I feel like collections are always difficult. I know
Yeah.
I've dabbled with the idea of a collection because a lot of, not a lot. I'm trying to think over the works that I've published to like give an accurate representation of this. Um, Several of the works that I've published deal with like monster friendships, not so much relationships, but like friendships.
I like that though.
Yeah, yeah. Like there are a couple that veer into the relationship territory, but like not all of them. And so I'm like, I feel like that could be a collection, but at the same
Yeah.
time, I don't know. I'm kind of in the same boat where I've read collections that have themes, and I've read collections that are place-based, and then I've read
Yeah.
collections that are completely random. And I'm like, I don't really know anything about that.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious as to like what you're working on now, or if there's anything you want to plug for our listeners that you want them to seek out and share and find.
I'm working on a lot of things at once, but I don't have anything specific. Um, I have work coming out in Neon and Smoke. Um, I have another piece coming out in called Blue Sugar, Brown Sugar Lit. It's coming out later this year, and a piece I'm really glad it placed. It's called Men Don't Fall in Love by
Mhm.
oh jeez, it's the German word for nightlight.
Okay.
Knock
I
knock.
don't know that word, but
I can't find. I want to give her a proper shout out, but I don't know how to pronounce it. Um, oh God, I'm so knock knacklot knock knacklot. NACHTLJOCHT.
I would not know how to pronounce that, but
I don't,
amazing.
unfortunately, and that's so bad. But it's a piece I was very happy placed. So, and that should be coming out in August.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, we'll definitely, well, everyone who's listening to this will be able to check that out soon because
Yeah.
this will come out after when we're recording it. So it will be closer
Yeah.
for them than it is for us.
That's nice.
But yeah, and I know you mentioned a website and you share some of your work.
Yeah.
Could you tell us what that website is? And that way we can like go back and find past work and all that fun stuff.
Absolutely. It's Danny F. Ellis, DANIFELLIS.com. And it's actually my portfolio site, but I have a writing blog there and it lists all my publications with links to other works I've published and it has all my retired stories. So I shouldn't they were the rejects. That's what it
I like
sounds like.
retired better. I like that
Yeah,
phrasing. It's great.
it's great. But the pieces that didn't quite land or I didn't send. But there's still good writing, at least from my perspective.
hmm Definitely, definitely. It's good to share it. That way we get kind of like a holistic idea of you as a writer as well, to
Yes.
reading all the things. But yeah, awesome. And I can link that in the description of the interview so people can click on it and or copy and paste because YouTube doesn't let us do hyperlinks, but whatever.
Right. They
So
took it away from us.
yes, yes, it kills me, but all of the other podcast things do hyperlinks to my knowledge, so we'll be
Okay.
good. But yeah, awesome. That brings me to my last question. I ask everyone, and our listeners might be tired of hearing it, or that might be their favorite part. I don't know. But if you could give writing advice to someone who's looking to start out on their journey, what advice would
Yeah.
you give them?
I would say write a lot. This sounds cliche, but I'm not done yet. Write a lot for a period of time. And I found going back and editing that work and bringing it up to the standard that you write after you've practiced is a great way to learn because you hear all the advice, show, don't tell, and write what you know. But until you see it in practice and can apply it or see how it can be applied, it doesn't really mean much. But when you go back and revise and bring all your work to as reasonable to the level that you're at, I think that's a great way to really get a good grasp on writing and seeing and strengthening your weaknesses.
Mhm. Mhm. I love that. I love that idea of kind of not just looking back at old work and being like, ew, which is what I do, um, but actually taking it as a chance for practice and opportunity and to still do
Yeah.
the idea justice. I love that.
Yes.
Awesome. Amazing, amazing advice. Thank you so, so much for being here with me today. It's been really great speaking with you.
Thank you for having me. This has been fun. This has been a lot of fun.